Good Girl Confessional. I'm your host, Sandy Lowries, and the Good Girl Confessional is brought to us by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine, and you can find out all about it at wb40.com. Today in the confessional, I am so excited to be chatting with a beautiful human. Her name is Jane Vandermeer. Jane has spent the last 20 years in the fashion industry as a stylist. She likes to call herself a holistic stylist, and she really cares about how women feel about themselves regardless of our shape, size, or whatever. I mean, she's pretty amazing. She is the founder of Finesse Business Style, but she is also the founder of Intuitive Whispers. And through that company, she has founded Breast Care Deodorant, that's the name of it, and which has been featured in so many magazines. It's won awards, and she's even been featured in Vogue UK. So please welcome to the confessional this lovely person. Welcome, Jane. Hello and welcome to the confessional. Jane, how are you?
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me today. Yippee!
Yay! And I'm so excited to talk to you today because we have chatted in the past.
We have.
Yes, we have. And you're fascinating and brilliant. And I love what you were doing because you are multifaceted. Not only are you the founder of you're a stylist, and you're not only the founder of your own company called Finesse Business and Style, but you are an extraordinary entrepreneur who has come up with this fantastic product that every woman should know about, which is breast care deodorant. And I'm super fascinated about how that happened and what's happened since.
Thank you for that gorgeous introduction. You're so kind. Yeah, look, I believe most of us are multifaceted and multidimensional women, really. I think we're pretty magical creatures. So you're right. I've had lots of businesses over the years. My first business was at 16, so it must be somewhere in my blood, as is fashion. I think it just runs through my veins. But the Intuitive Whispers, the breast care deodorant, my special little magical deodorant. So it's funny, that was never going to be a business. That was something that came about due to my health scares over the years. So I am a super duper private person. Most people would never have known my story. I tell it a little bit more now. But I got my first breast lump at about 25. And being, superwoman mode, I scheduled client support before, clients afterwards. I thought I'll dash in there. I had my mum and my sisters offer to come to the appointment with me. No, I'll be fine. Yeah, and it was, reasonably serious, and I needed a lot of different tests, and, you're young and everything's, it's awful having a mammogram at 25 because, it's easier when breast tissue's softer, so to speak. It's horrific. Anyway, so fast forward 20 years, a number of scares along the way. I have escaped the big C word, which I am immensely grateful for. But I got adrenal fatigue after, a big, amazing career that I'm very, grateful and proud of. So a combination of that, a combination of a number of health scares and more lumps again, enormous ones about the size of a walnut. And I started to listen instead of blocking out the whispers, the intuition, the red flags, all those things that we just override because, we've got things to do in life. And so after lots of research and, I tried natural deodorants because I know that aluminium builds up in our bodies, and I knew I ended up with a heavy metal toxic overload in my lymphatic system, and
Oh, wow.
so like I'm under no illusions that this is a one-stop fix-it. Life is holistic, but this is something tangible I could do. So I made this lovely deodorant for myself, my mum, my sisters, and a couple of girlfriends. Gave it to everyone for Christmas, and tested it for months and months to make sure it actually worked, and refining the formula. And so I fast forward, and it's done really well. I've got a strong wholesale fashion background, so I was wholesaling it quite quickly, and retailing it, and it's won heaps of awards, which I'm super proud of.
Yay! So how many awards? Can you remember how many awards?
I had them up the other day. And I can't remember, somewhere between 15 and 20. So,
wow, incredible. Well done, you.
Yeah, especially in the sort of organic beauty space, because it's all clean and it's vegan and all these different things. And it's designed, it's very much my aesthetic. It's got peonies on the packaging, because I love all such things.
It's so pretty. It's very pretty.
Thank you. Yeah. And so an extension, or the next step, was perfume oils. I've always worn actually French perfume, and I realised one day, I conscious of what I eat and all these different things, and then I'm putting all these chemicals on every day. I thought, right, this isn't actually marrying properly. And so on a trip to Paris a few years ago, I actually did a perfume making course just for love, and it was all in French, and my French is okay, but only up to a point. It was super tricky. Anyway, we battled through, we worked it out. But that was just for love. That was not with a plan in mind. And then a couple of years later, all that came back to me, and so I created the formulas for my perfumes. And earlier this year, I got a lovely email, which I thought was spam and didn't take any notice of it, from a company in London, and they had awarded my brand the Luxury Artisan Perfume Brand of the Year this year.
Wow, that's massive.
Which is extraordinary. And like I said, I didn't take any notice because I thought it sounded pretty fabulous. And then
I love that you thought it was spam. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I just didn't really take any notice of it. And then a short while later, British Vogue got in contact with me, and again, I thought that was spam. I really didn't think, because, I'm a fashion girl, Vogue's pretty cool. And
just a little bit.
Yeah, and then I, did a bit of research with the lady who got in contact and realised she actually does work at Vogue. Mm. And so they featured the breast care deodorant for August, September and October issues, which is quite cool. The September issue, as fashion lovers might know, is the biggest issue of the year. So I was really, that is definitely a highlight in my life and my career, that our beautiful little deodorant has had such credibilities and external credibility. It's just amazing.
Mm. And congratulations. And now it's super exciting because, as you say, you started wholesaling it, so people can actually buy this in so many places now, which is super exciting.
It is.
And as you say, I like that it was driven, as you say, by your own health scares, because I'm not sure I know too many women who are in my age demographic who haven't had a scare at some point.
Yeah.
And sadly, I know many women who have had breast cancer, and that's, what an extraordinary journey they go through. So to have a product that is safe, that works, but also too, you mentioned, and a lot of listeners might be really interested in this as well, that it's a fully vegan product as well.
Absolutely. Vegan, clean. That side of things was really important to me, that it it walks the walk, you know, that we have on my website, I talk about it, that we have a clear supply chain, so, or transparent supply chain. So one of the aspects of how I select my suppliers is the company that I buy through, they pay directly to women. So frankincense comes from Somaliland, and so often the women go out and do the, you know, climb the mountains and do all the different things, gathering the actual, like doing the tangible hard work. And in some cultures, the men are paid, their husbands are paid, or when they do it. And so this company actually hands the money to the women every day, so that, you know, it's empowering for them. They can then make decisions with their children and families and whatever. So it was important to me that the companies I buy from are ethical and amazing as well. And, you know, I could use less expensive suppliers. I could, which would be a better financial decision. But to me, that is part of the whole picture with supporting women. And that's, that makes my heart sing. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And as you say, you know, there is a lot of areas in our life where we buy products and we actually really don't understand or know where that supply chain comes from. So, you know, for you to be creating a product for women that is actually all the way through that sort of supply chain is also supporting other women is pretty monumental.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, because this business was never going to be a business. It was a love situation, you know, no plan, none of that. So the decisions along the way were very heart-driven, heart-led, and then, you know, once you start wholesaling and it gets to a little bit of a bigger level, it could be easy to go, you know, make financial decisions that are different. It really could. It takes courage and, I suppose, integrity to maintain that initial ethos that the whole business is built on. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, and it's so brilliant. I love that throughout all of your businesses and your endeavors that you bring that kind of holistic and ethical vibe, which is really amazing. And I wanted to chat with you about your other love, which is fashion and styling. So let's talk a little bit about Finesse Business and Style. How did it start? And really what your aim is for women through this business.
Yeah. So look, I've been styling women on and off for a long, long time. When I say how long, my mum's sweet. She's like, darling, that makes you sound a lot older than what you are. And I'm like, yeah, but I did start really young. But yes, I've dressed women for many, many years, and I do it with kindness. I think there's a real, I think it's really important to be kind. I'm not a tough love kind of stylist at all. Therefore, I attract women who that appeals to. I work only with women. I have done men and women over the years, but women are my happy space. I call it holistic soulful styling because to me, my view of fashion is very holistic. How I describe it is, you know, when you go to a counsellor, you go once and it's fantastic and it's a help and it's a start. It's certainly not a negative. However, real change comes over time, and where you perhaps let down your guard a bit and you open up and therefore get support. And so on the back of that, I have designed a course that is actually now goes for 5 months, and it's it's a culmination of like 20, 25, 30 years in the fashion industry, cherry picking all the bits that I think women need to know to help them. So, and so an example I give is a lady who's just finished her course. So she's late 40s and she is happily married. She's got 2 teenage children, excellent career, all the things that you'd think are going for her in a positive way, and secure in a happy marriage, all of that. And she said to me, I have never loved my body, never. And I said, really? Wow, okay, tell me about that. Anyway, so when I could teach her all the different elements and, about why her body is the way it is and therefore what works to her best advantage. So what I teach is loving the way you are right now, not in 5 kilos less time or more. It's right now. And so by the time she finished, she said, Jane, for the first time in my entire life, I now love my body. And I just thought that is the best compliment ever. And that's why I do this, because that's what it's about to me. And
I love that. There will be a lot of women listening, Jane, as we both know, who are, as they're hearing these words or they're watching us or they're listening, they are thinking, oh God, I don't love my body. I don't love my body either. And I think we lose such a sense of self and our self-esteem and our confidence when we can't embrace our figure just as it is right now and embrace who we are right now in the skin we're in.
It's such a big one. My happy space client-wise is ladies 40 and above, because often by that stage we know ourselves a little bit more. If you have children, they're a little bit older now. Perhaps there's perhaps there's now a little bit of money to put money back into yourself again, but also
and time.
And also what's happened is in our 40s, our bodies change. There's weight in different areas and we still eat the same and suddenly it is different. And, because the focus especially for those who have children, the focus when the kids are little is the children. And if we look in the hierarchy of finances and hierarchy of time, you and your wardrobe and your look drops right down when the children are really little, and I understand that. But into our 40s and 50s, hopefully we're moving through that a little bit, children a bit more self-sufficient, time to look at ourselves again. And it's all, I think, combine that with the fact of the last 2 years of all of our lives has affected us in different ways. And I see this common theme of losing confidence and losing direction and losing ourself. The other part that I find is when we perhaps leave a relationship, especially a big relationship. I know for me, and I know what colours suit me and all that kind of thing, but I needed to find myself again. If the relationship's tough due to whatever reason, and you wake up one day and think, I don't even know who I am. I don't know who she is. Where has she gone? And I love working with women in that space because I've been there too. And I think empathy helps enormously. It sneaks up, that kind of thing.
I love that, Jane. And I think you're right. I think so many women in this age demographic, women who are over 40, over 50, and even sometimes over 60, suddenly find themselves, either walking away from long-term marriages that just make them miserable, or, sudden divorces where it's catastrophic and it takes kind of a long time to heal. And I remember being divorced at, 41, and I was shattered. I was so shattered. And I remember absolutely reinventing myself, but it took a long time. There's this sense of healing, but you're right. Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I if I'm not part of that couple anymore? And I love that you are helping so many women with that, to re-identify. It's not really reimagining
No.
yourself. It's actually that we've grown so much
Yeah.
through that
Yeah.
experience, right? That we can't help but be changed and be different, and our thought process is different.
Absolutely. And especially if you're leaving a marriage or relationship that's really challenging, that's really
Yeah,
not healthy, you lose yourself. You just do. It sneaks up.
yeah.
It's super hard. And if your self-worth has been chipped away at for a period of time, it doesn't just come back like that, does it? It takes time. It takes kindness and a bit of empathy um,
And a bit of gentleness with ourselves, I think, like not to go be so bloody hard on ourselves as women tend to
yeah, we
be.
are.
But it's fascinating. I like that what you touched on before is really fascinating. And because I know we've discussed this previously, but I remember you saying that when you came out of a very long-term relationship, that you almost wanted to get rid of your entire
Mm,
wardrobe and start
mm,
again because A, you felt
mm.
different. And do you want to discuss
Yeah,
that? Like, tell us about
yeah. Which when I take women shopping, I never do that. I never say let's get rid of everything and start again, because that's wasteful and financial side of things. However, it is what I more or less did. I came left a situation that wasn't terribly good, and I think along the way I just lost myself. I did. And as an empathetic person and a gentle soul, sometimes that's what happens with us. We it just sneaks up. And I remember a week out thinking, I need a fair few new things, and I just need to feel fresh and new and move forward, and um, just take back my
and
power
feel like
again.
your newest self. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
I
just
like
felt
that. And
powerless,
so,
and then that was a way of gaining some power. And it did actually. Um, I remember I went to a birthday party the next week, and my girlfriend whose party it was, I hadn't told her what had happened, and I turned up in new clothes, and I went to the hairdresser, and so you're feeling a bit better, and there's a photo of me there, and she said, I don't know what it is about you, but you look so good. And I thought, oh, wow, gosh, that's amazing. So, yeah, letting go of the baggage.
I think that's what
Yeah.
it is, right? And that weighs heavily on
Mm.
us. I joke about this quite often, but I love this meme that's going around that what is it that women over the age of 40 should stop wearing? And the answer is the weight of other people's
Oh, really
expectations.
good.
And I wanted to talk to you about that. Like, it's a joke, I get, but it's
Oh,
actually
it's
real
really true.
because
Yeah.
it's so true.
Yeah.
And as a
Yeah.
stylist, how do you advise women in the, when you're helping them to find their mojo, to find like styles that will suit them? Is it fashion led, or is it really
Yeah.
about their shape, their size, and their
Yeah.
personality?
So, what I do with styling is a bit different to a traditional stylist. So, a traditional stylist is, would take you shopping, which, look, I do that, but I prefer to get to know you a little bit more first, and then we can work out what's in your wardrobe already, and perhaps we can, perhaps it's just a case of altering some of the pieces that you have. Um, but I've had clients describe me as that I sprinkle chicken soup for the soul throughout what I do. And I thought that's a great
I love
description. I don't actually write that on my website, but I do that because, and that's where the holistic angle comes into play. I think one of my superpowers is being able to see beyond what you're not telling me. So often women will say, oh, well, I don't, it's like it's easier to say what you don't like. I don't like this and I don't like that. And it's like, okay, all right. So to help nut out what they do need or want. So there's that. And then there's the practical side of, okay, well, let me steer you in the right direction for colour-wise, for instance. And I will ask the girls, whether we do it via Zoom or in person, okay, please try on this. Can you see this? Because to me, I'm all about harmony and it working for you and ease. So to me, you should be able to put the right thing on. Like, so today, obviously, I've made a decision with this print. As soon as I put this on, because these colours are good on me, I come alive. And you shouldn't have to work hard to come alive. If you have to, you know, change all your makeup and do all these different things and you still look dead tired, it's probably not right. The other thing is with shape is the right shapes you should be able to put on and think, oh, excellent, and not hold your tummy in and not do this. Yeah. And when you understand the elements, which is what I show you and teach you, that's the magic, that's the key, so that it just works with ease.
I love that. And I know that we're talking at a really great time for a lot of women who are listening, because we're basically living, we're still living with COVID, but most of us have been working from home for a very long time. As the world opens up, some of us, like my good self, are carrying a few of those extra COVID curves, and that's okay. But going back into the office, and I've heard a lot of my girlfriends and a lot of other women say that they're really concerned, what the hell am I going to wear? I don't even know how to dress anymore to go into the office, because I've been working from home in more comfy clothes for nearly 2 years. So, and I think, so I feel like, this conversation is happening at a really awesome time, because I'm one of those women going, I don't know that I want to go back to wearing heels in the office all day, every day. And is that acceptable? And, can we change our corporate style to suit this new COVID world?
That's my favorite. I need to fashion a phrase, but that is my favorite look of corporate, but with a fashion twist. So a bit more interesting, a bit more perhaps textures, and like I'm a fan of a great jacket, but not a traditional blazer. Like, they're fine, but surely we can do something more interesting than that. But yeah, I've you're not the first person, even in the last 2 weeks, to say that to me, of putting on a bit of extra COVID love, B, not wanting to, like, it's like time for a new normal, isn't it now?
Yeah.
And that's really fun. We can make it really fun and still do professional, but it's somewhere between corporate-y and then casually, isn't it? It's somewhere in that zone, which is wonderful. I think it's a really wonderful opportunity that we can have. In my course, I call it Savon Faire, which is your twist, your unique specialness that makes you just you. Isn't that what we want?
I love that. So I should ask you, who are your style icons? Because, I know that people who are lovers of fashion often, have a few people that they're like, oh, I just adore that person. Do you have any style icons?
Probably. I think I'm not someone that, it's taken me years to actually embrace this, that I don't quite fit in a box. So I'm a bit of this and a bit of that. And probably fashion falls into the same category. I love feminine, beautiful fashion, like Ellie Saab is all evening and beading, and it's French lace, and it's all those beautiful things. Of course, it's not day wear. I then love Anthropology, which is an American brand or company. It's worldwide, but it's eclectic and interesting, and they combine tech. They might have texture and a print and like pattern on pattern on pattern. I love the fun aspect of that. High end.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think, I am not this style of dresser at all, but I love like people like, actress Diane
Yeah,
Keaton. I love how she's really
yeah,
quirky and she does that beautiful,
yeah,
like we're moving into this new world
yeah,
post COVID, but she's always had this amazing ability to dress in
yeah,
really cool suits with
yeah,
runners or
yeah.
with
Puts
like
that twist
quirky
on.
flat
Yeah.
shoes. Yeah. And I sort of love that. And I sort of was thinking about her in particular the other day because I was
Mm.
thinking that's kind of where the world is heading now in terms of
Absolutely,
quirky style.
absolutely, and it makes me think. One of the things that I talk. So we had a call this week for the course, and I was talking about Diane Keaton actually, and another one who I really love. Like I try and when I teach to give examples of women of all age brackets and all colourings is Dame Judi Dench.
Oh yeah, she's
For
gorgeous.
I think she's 80 now, and striking and beautiful, and um, she's got a great stylist who knows her colours, and then every now and then she'll do a role where she's given, browns and mustards and creams, and it adds 20 years to her age because they're all the wrong undertone for her. Um, Jane.
Yeah, it's fascinating,
Mm,
isn't it? I think another one, I suppose we could talk about is Oprah,
yep,
and I think she's got a very clever
she does.
stylist,
Yep,
who's a really curvy
yep,
chick like my good
yep,
self.
yep,
But her stylist has this really brilliant way
yep,
of choosing color schemes that really suit
absolutely.
her, but choosing styles that really
Mm,
suit her. And I think, I remember years ago looking at her thinking, oh, I can't wear really fitted clothes because I'm a curvy woman. And watching someone like Oprah and you go,
mm,
oh, actually, yes, I can. And I love
mm,
now there is this new movement for curvy
mm,
women where they are embracing their shape. They are wearing
absolutely.
beautiful,
Yep,
structured,
yep,
fitted clothing and looking
yep.
brilliant.
Nigella's another one that when I think of
Oh,
her,
yes.
and even Adele. Think of Adele when she was
Oh, yeah,
just recently
beautiful.
in that on that show with the black dress, and they really play on her immense hourglass shape, and it's
Oh, she's
beautiful.
stunning. And it really doesn't matter with Adele, like what size she is, because she's been a much curvier lady. The reality is she always looks
Yeah.
stunning, but I think she's always had a really strong sense of what suits her.
Yes, yes. I think so. If we bring that back to us mere mortals, there's a lady that I talk about, a client that I dressed her for nearly 10 years actually, built like these girls that we're talking about. So she was about a size 16-ish bust, about a 12 waist and a 24 hip. So super curvy. When I met her, like PhD, amazing career, all of that side of things. But when I met her, she only wore beige and everything was big. And
Wow.
it was like getting her confidence was like trying to ask a butterfly to land on my hand. It took time, and I had to go super, super, super gently because she, confidence was really a challenge there. And
Yeah.
I did get her slowly, slowly. I got her into more fitted shapes because she was so little through here, like Oprah, like Nigella, like Adele. And if someone of that shape wears big sloppy things because they want to cover their bottom, it looks sloppy and big all over. And so
Yeah, right.
eventually I got her into far more fitted shapes, and oh, look, it changed her life, quite honestly. And I got her out of wearing beige all the time. And the beige part, like beige can be amazing, but what the beige represented was, don't look at me, don't stand out, don't take any notice of me, the hiding thing. So to watch her little evolution was amazing, and then the confidence and sort of walking differently and showing off the curves.
Which is
Amazing.
great. It's brilliant.
Not losing weight,
right?
like none of that. There's no need to lose weight. It's just knowing how to work with what you've got there.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of us, and especially as we get older, losing our sense of, well, what suited me in my 30s suddenly,
Absolutely.
didn't suit me in my 40s, and now I'm like 52, and the world has
Yes.
changed. I mean, we now know that women of all ages can have beautiful long hair. We can see stunning women with fully grey hair, or women still dyeing their hair. Both is okay and fantastic. But the way we feel, we have all these societal rules. You can't wear that once you're at a
Yeah.
certain age. You can't change your makeup, do this, do that. You should cut your hair short, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. What are your views on that?
Oh, I am all about individuality and being who you are. So an example I give, which we've spoken about this before, is on the lead up to turning 40, there was that thing in my head which you read in all magazines. At 40, you should have cut your hair. So I did that, and I felt like Samson and Delilah.
Oh,
Was that
yeah.
the thing where
Yeah. Your strength was your hair.
And it looked good, like it was lovely, it was fine, but there was just that essence I felt was missing anyway. So bit by bit, and of course now it's super long, and now I'm older than that. But I think it's embracing your uniqueness, your specialness. So it's the fine line of a considered decision. So
and I think for some women, short hair really suits
absolutely.
them. Like really suits. I could never have, like, for example, a little pixie cut. Like the shape of my face, but even my personality, this is not who I am.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I do think your personality and who you are, like the shape of your face, all sorts of things come into play there as well.
All of that.
Right, I had an amazing. My partner and I went out for lunch the other day, and it was kind of this rare moment of, no, we're just going to take a few hours out, and that's it. It was beautiful, and we had a waitress who was fabulous, who was completely bald, and I don't know whether that was a fashion statement by choice or not. I don't know, but it really didn't matter, because I'll tell you what, she was one of the most attractive women I've ever seen.
Wow.
And the makeup and she just rocked it. It was incredible. And so I think, while I just think it's so extraordinary watching different people make different choices.
And I think it's really, like, I'm all about personal growth and learning. Personally, I'm about that, and then I just share that with everyone I encounter and work with. So when we know ourselves more, when we keep growing and moving forward, isn't it more important to embrace what that is within each of us? So you're exactly right. Like, I know myself well enough to know a pixie cut I wouldn't feel like me. But I love it on other people. I think it's amazing and empowering and extraordinary. I feel like me when I wear, A, B, and C. And when I look at photos of myself now compared to X amount of time ago, to me, that's what radiates from within. It is knowing myself, honouring myself, and embracing. Like, that is the magic in it all. And so that's what I help women find.
Oh, I love that so much. I love it. And You are incredible. I love everything that you are doing on both sides of this coin. I love that you have this very holistic view of helping
Mm,
women to find themselves and find their
mm,
mojo and dress in a way that makes them feel
mm.
good. And if you know, we will put up all the links in our
Yeah,
show notes to your beautiful website so people can find out all about your courses. You do
I do.
one-on-one.
I do.
Yes, well, you do one-on-one style. I should add that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
And if people are interested, they can go to your website
yeah,
and find you
yeah.
because what you're doing is beautiful. But also, too, we'll put up links to your intuitive
Thank
whispers,
you. Yeah.
and you know the breast
Mm.
care deodorant is so fantastic. Oh, and by the way, that was another question before we
Yeah.
leave. I really want to ask this. So I love that you called it like breast care deodorant, but there was a bit of a
Yeah,
thing,
there
wasn't there? A bit
was.
of a
There
pushback.
was. I I wanted I was going to I sort of tested the market and I was gonna call it Love Your Buzzies. And because that's what it is. That's love it, you know. And not enough people knew what I was talking about. And it was so funny. I thought that was completely obvious. Obvious is not obvious, clearly. So I went for a very grown up breast care deodorant. And that's, mind you, not everyone gets it too, but that's okay. Not everyone's.
Yeah, but a bit of a pushback too, I'm sure, from some people who were buying this product, retailers, you know, because you were
Yeah.
wholesaling,
Yep.
um, saying, "Oh, do we
No.
really want to stock a product that's got the word breast in it?" Well, yes, gentlemen, we
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yep, we do. And it's interesting. One thing I would say is so one of my beautiful, she's an absolute fan. She has had breast cancer, done all that through the other side, and she, oh bless her,
I'm
she
glad to hear
thinks
that.
it's the bee's knees and right is forever writing lovely things about it. And I think, isn't it wonderful that because she's had such a scare, sometimes that's what it takes in life when we've had a health scare, whatever that is. We start to read what's on the packets of what we eat and what
Yeah.
we put on our body, and it brings. We have the opportunity to learn and have awareness and realize the value of yoga, realize the value of slowing down a bit and making different choices and
Well, we realize the value maybe of self-care too, of understanding as women that we are as valuable as our families, our friends, our parents, our children, our bosses, whomever.
yeah,
You know that we
yeah.
yes, it's a beautiful
And
thing when we start to
we are
realize that
the
our self-care is
central,
important too.
the nucleus to all of that. So if we are and our health is continually bumped down for some reason, we fall apart. At a certain point, we fall apart. In our 20s, we're invincible, and then probably, at some point, 40s, 50s, whatever, that's where we get pulled up, you know. And as
Very true.
I call myself a reformed workaholic, I remember trying to go to body balance class however often I went, and I'd often ditch it because I'd stay back at work or a client needed me or whatever. And I remember thinking, yeah, I get it. It's all about balance, and yet I'm not doing it. I'm overriding it.
Right?
Yeah, whereas now I
and
don't.
um and my confession today in the confession, another confession today in the confessional, is that I was just talking to you, Jane, about that previously, about that I feel like I'm limping to the finish line for
Yeah,
Christmas and working too
yeah,
hard, and I do think as women we need to recognise
absolutely.
when we need to stop a little bit, when we need to pull back just a little bit and give ourselves some much needed rest. One of my girlfriends has had a huge health scare, and which is really scary for all of us because we love her so much. And she really needed to slow down, relax, to whatever. And we started doing these online yoga
Great.
classes organised by one of the girls, which is brilliant. And that's just I'll give a shout out to the lady who we go to. Her name is Sapphire, and she
Great
runs these
name.
beautiful online yoga courses. Isn't it a
Mm,
great name? And she's lovely and beautiful. And I used to meditate a
mm,
lot, and as I got older, I went, I don't have the time. cannot steal my mind. But then you realize it's really not about that. You're not meant to, it doesn't mean you have to go blank. It's about the resting and the allowing yourself to just be in the moment. And she's been brilliant. So that's been lovely.
Amazing.
But it was through our friend
Yeah.
having a health scare that we've all
Yeah.
really joined in and all benefited
Mm.
as a group. And that beautiful energy
Yeah.
of a group of women who really love each other and support each
Beautiful.
other, that comes
Beautiful.
through as well, I think.
When
Yeah,
I
right.
left, I call it corporate a few years ago, I knew, which is why I called my company Intuitive Whispers, listening to the intuition, your intuition. But I knew there's a different way to run life and run a business. I didn't know the answers, but I just knew that's what it was important. And part of that, or a big part of that, is sitting within your feminine power, because traditional business is generally more on the front foot, more, which is masculine power, masculine energy. And so these days, as soon as I hear myself saying the word should, I stop myself now. It is like a muscle that's practice. And some days it doesn't work, and some days it does. We're all work in progress. But as soon as it should, I go, no, not doing it. Or as soon as I'm really, really tired and exhausted, I now stop and I don't push through anymore. And I come back, have a rest. Sometimes it's a rest for the rest of the day and do other creative things or whatever. But when you come back, you can then bang it out in 10 minutes flat. Whereas when you're tired and you're pushing through, it takes what should be 10 minutes takes an hour. But it's a different way of operating, in
Agreed.
just cycles, and yeah.
Yeah, agree. And I must admit, I'm naturally one of those energetic people who I do love to work, but I do know that there's a limit, and burnout, is massive, and it's important. It's really funny actually because I was talking to Colleen Callender was recently on this podcast. Colleen was the CEO of huge brands like Sports Girl and Suzanne in Australia, and an incredible woman. But she said, one of the things she talked about was that burnout almost threatened to derail her career, and that she recognized it. And she has written a book called Leader by Design, but she talks really about exactly that, about recognizing that and how am I going now to live my life differently. And because she changed the way that she thought about work and life and what we now love to refer to as work-life balance, she then went on to become this extraordinary female leader and CEO. Right, because when you feel
Yeah,
yourself, you have more strength to feel
absolutely,
others, but also
absolutely.
to make great decisions.
And I think for a lot of us who are, achieving and doing that kind of thing and juggling a few things, there's a portion of what we do that's unnecessary. So
Yep, I
yeah, so
agree.
I every day try and start the day and go, all right, well, I'd planned to do A, B, and C. With meditative practice is a big part of my life now, but not necessarily sitting there doing kumbaya. It might be out walking, it might be in different ways. But also getting rid of what's not essential. We live in this life of information overload. Do I need to read that email? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? No. So I don't. Different way to
I think that's
function.
fair. I think that's fair. And I think one of the joys of, for me, of walking, and I don't do it often enough, but when I do go walking, that I like to put the earphones in and I listen to, a podcast, I listen to an audio book, but it's getting away from my work and my office and my stuff and getting away from everything else and
Absolutely.
just kind of immersing myself in something I'm really
Yeah.
interested in.
And be present
Um,
too. Like look at the gardens, look at the whatever,
Oh yeah, I always do
Yeah.
that. I often stop, I take photographs of where I
Me
live.
too.
I'm very lucky. We have like a lot of swans on a lake, and I often stop and I take photos of the swans. And recently, of course, a few of them have had babies, so that's been really exciting. And I love to look at other people's gardens, and I love to look at flowers and things. And I think that's kind of a really nice thing about walking.
I agree. And I find I get a download of creativity when I walk.
Absolutely.
And, I'm forever then dictating that into my phone to remember the ideas. And like, that's perfect, isn't it? What a great way for it to happen.
I do that as well. I write notes on my phone, so when I get from a walk, I've got to go, oh, I've thought of this, oh, I've thought of that. So as much as I say I leave work at home, I do, but at the same time, you're right. I think as creatives, this is how we operate anyway. When you give yourself space, creative ideas will fall in. So it's very exciting. So I am super grateful to talk to you today. I absolutely love it. And I know I could talk to you for hours and hours. You are such a beautiful soul. I love everything that you are doing. As I said before, we're going to put all the links for Jane in our show notes and across our social media. And if you want to reach out to Jane, I wholly recommend it that you do, and check out Jane's course to figure out if you're a bit unsure about your own style. This is a great way to go into the new year, and which is great. And also we will put up the links also to Intuitive Whispers and your beautiful breast care deodorant and your gorgeous award-winning perfumes. And congratulations on everything you're doing, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's been a delight. I always enjoy my time with you.
Oh, you're beautiful, Jane. Can't wait for the podcast to come out. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, Sophie.
Thanks for listening to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to you by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine. Available now at WB40.com. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to quality podcasts. We're also now available on YouTube. We chat with really interesting women about their hard-won wisdom, but it really helps us if you can subscribe, like, and share the podcast. Thanks so much for your support. Bye for now.